are you still right? Most of us live with this quiet framework of beliefs. We think if I say something, if I speak up, I'm going to get in trouble. This person doesn't like me. I've never been good at that. We make these assumptions that this is just how life works. These beliefs were formed years ago, maybe before we even knew how to speak, and they just became what we know to be true. They just wove themselves into the tapestry of who we take ourselves to be. But here's the thing, just because it used to make sense doesn't mean that it still does. One of the most powerful forms of self-inquiry is playing devil's advocate with your own mind. What if this isn't true? What if they do like me? What if this isn't about me at all? I'll share a personal story that just came up. I was talking with one of my nearest and dearest and oldest friends. And I said, when we first met, for the first year or so, I thought you didn't like me. You were in a group of friends that I wasn't in, and I thought you gave me the cold shoulder. And she laughed and said, I thought you didn't like me. I thought you were doing the same thing to me. And isn't that funny? It's like we both had this perception of what was going on that was totally inaccurate. And how often does that happen? How many times have you been certain of something only to find out after the fact that you were totally wrong? If we never challenge the lens that we look through, how do we ever learn anything new? And I'm talking about Pluto going retrograde this week, May 4th, yesterday, in the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius is that revolutionary energy that says, hey, something has to change here. We've gotten stagnant, we've gotten bored, we're just in a rut, something needs to be different. And Pluto is the energy of deep personal inquiry. So I'm going to talk some more about that. We're also going to go into the astrology of the week. I'm Natha Perkins of Electra Astrology, and this is the path ahead. This is my weekly astrology forecast. I'm going to go through what's happening this week in the skies so that you can better understand what's probably happening in your own psyche. And I'm going to give you some ideas, some inquiry, some things to think about so that you can navigate this energy with more awareness. You know me, I'm an astrology teacher, but I'm teaching more than just astrology. We're at a time right now on the planet where getting to know your inner world, getting to develop your own consciousness, which relates to knowing yourself, but it also relates to being able to tap into that dynamic field of awareness, that dynamic consciousness that we're all connected to. This is an important next step. It's really easy to look at everything through that 3D lens of black and white, politics, stock market, TV shows, football games, PTA meetings, getting gas, cooking dinner, right? And we have to exist within that dimension. We're here. So there's always a human part of us that's doing that work and we can't get away from it. But the generations that came before us were more likely to just exist within that time frame and just keep putting one foot in front of the other, getting through their human experience. We are here, if you're listening to this, we are here doing the next step of evolution, where we are looking around and saying, wow, there's more here than we thought. Things are actually quite different than what we were taught. And it's going to take time to really understand it. Our brains are still trying to make sense of it. And there's a lot that we were told that was not true that is actually quite true. And we're trying to figure out how we work with it. Things like telepathy, creating your own reality, dragons, fairies, angels, or other timelines, other dimensions, bending time, portals, right? There are so many things that we were taught to look at as if they were just fantasy or sci-fi. That if you're paying attention, you're starting to have your own personal experiences with some of these things, maybe not all. And you're beginning to see that other people are having those same experiences too. And so part of our inquiry right now is around looking to reframe the way that we have seen things and what we believe to be true, and tapping in to see where our skills are. How do these things actually show up for each of us on a personal level? I have a lot of clients, some who are mediums, some who are psychics, some who channel, some who have had contact with aliens. Of course, these are regular old people. These are not like the stereotype of old. When we would talk about people that were connected to that, we would think, oh boy, These are actual real people who are living real lives. And there are more and more of us that are able to connect in with these, we can call them other realms, we can call them superpowers or psychic skills. So I want you to just be thinking about that, because coupled with that, when we begin to change the way that we see the world, we also must do that personal work of getting to know ourselves, coming to discover things about ourselves that we never thought could have possibly been true, or that we just missed altogether, or that we were told there's no way you could ever be like that. And then it turns out, oh my God, I actually am like that. I am highly intelligent or telepathic or able to shift my perspective, able to become a better communicator, understand higher level things, right? So we're all in this together, and there is a lot of new stuff that's coming online. So watch for how it's coming online for you. So I want to get into the charts and talk a little bit about the planetary action of the week. Before I go there, if you like my style and you want to work with me through a private reading or become a student, you can find me at electroastrology.com. And I release a ton of content on YouTube and the podcast where I'm bringing you guys into this kind of subject matter, using astrology as the opening to all of this exploration of the world, exploration of your psyche, your thoughts, your heart, your soul, your relationship to spirit, all of that. All right, well, let's dive in. We're talking about the week of May 5th through the 12th. So we start off on May 5th, and we are looking at Ceres this week to begin with. And I've done a lot of talks about Ceres on my YouTube and also on the podcast. So you can find those. It's a very good asteroid to know about when you're doing self-inquiry and you're wanting to know more about who you are, because Ceres is related to the body and the cultivated land, which is the outside, but also our bodies are our cultivated land. We're learning how to take care of our bodies in a way that makes our bodies very supportive for our emotional work, our spiritual, psychological work. And when we start looking at Ceres, we begin to make those connections that the body is our compass. The body is actually our oracle and knows things long before the brain knows them, because our mind gets so distracted by different info and by beliefs and the things that we were taught, etc. But our body is able to respond without the filter of all of that same stuff that the mind is working with. So with Ceres, we come to understand how to listen to our bodies. And by the way, I'm doing a YouTube live about this. So if you want to show up, that's going to be Wednesday at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. You can ask me questions. Otherwise, I'm just going to dive into this on a deeper level. But with Ceres in the sign of Pisces, as it is right now, meeting with the North Node, the point of evolution, there's some strong energy that is about paying attention to the signs and signals that your body is sending you. Your body holds stories that your mind has forgotten about, or that your mind didn't even register. So Ceres in Pisces is especially connected to our intuitive hits, something as subtle as goosebumps or a drop in your stomach or a burst of fear. Those things are informing you. Your body is informing you about something that's going on that's really not even verbal. So just take a minute and tune into your physical body right now. And what do you notice? Is there anything that feels strongly, anything that is a contraction or a tightness? How does your solar plexus feel? Solar plexus is often the seat of where you might feel anxiety. There's usually a lot of information that comes from the solar plexus, also from the gut, the sacral area, and the heart. So tune in and just notice what your body is feeling now. I also just released a Taurus talk on the body. So some of this is similar. When I was learning astrology, my mentor talked about Ceres as perhaps even a co-ruler of Taurus, along with Venus. So there's a lot of similar information that goes along with Taurus and Ceres. But this is a week where paying attention to your body and listening to what your body is telling you is important. As Ceres is meeting with the North Node, there's something that is evolving here. about the way that we listen to our body, when we let our body inform us about when something is too much, when we're too tired, when we're excited, when it's a full body yes or a full body no. With Ceres and Pisces, we learn to override that mind that tells us about what needs to be done and what should be done and what the protocol is. And we lean more into the body and what the body is actually telling us it needs. Ceres is at 26 degrees on Monday and also on Tuesday, and is making all of these connections. So she's making connections with the North and the South Node. She's also making connections in a trine with Juno, which is about our long-term relationships and our partnerships. And then she's also making a sextile to Uranus, which is about that energy of shift and change. So the storyline here is essentially saying the divine is speaking to us all the time through everything, and particularly through the body. Your breath, your posture, your hunger, your thirst, your aches, your pains are all here telling you a story and inviting you to get quiet and listen to that story in a very similar way that we tune into higher power. We tune into the divine and we get messages through our dreams or through the wind or through the sun codes. So pay particular attention to how your body feels around the people that you're partnered with. The people that you're around will act as mirrors, and they will help you to understand something about what your body is telling you, even if you're just interacting with them. You don't have to have a verbal conversation about this. And with Uranus in the mix, we're looking at breathing new energy into it. There's something so potent about asking your body what is happening without trying to understand it through your mind. Just the simple question of, what am I feeling right now? What is this stomach ache making me feel? What is this itch making me feel? And you'll get a flash. Your body will bring you the flash of what it is. Oh, I feel annoyed. Oh, I feel irritable. Oh, I feel sad. Oh, I feel frustration. And that nugget of wisdom can help you to know yourself deeper. It can give you access into your inner world. And it can also help you to reframe situations so that you understand them, so that you are bringing more consciousness into your day-to-day, is the whole point. Speaking of consciousness, we have Venus at 3 degrees of Aries on the 6th, making a sextile to Pluto. Pluto is pushing hard for us to keep going deeper. Pluto is asking us to look at the way that we relate to our shadow. When we're acting out our shadow, it usually shows up where we're like annoyed with somebody, or we don't want to have a conversation about something. We're holding on to resentments. We're acting from our ego. We're letting our belief systems really get the best of us. Like, I'm right and that person is wrong. So anytime that you're feeling that discomfort in your field, in your relationships, where everybody else is wrong, it's their fault, you're feeling sad, annoyed, like whatever, that's probably a Pluto shadow that's coming up to have you look at it. And as Venus is about our value system, this week we are continuing that Venus work of identifying, like, what's really important here? What is the real reason that I'm feeling resentful? What is really happening underneath my refusal to like go a little deeper into this conversation with somebody? Or how am I feeling disempowered? That's always a good Plutonian question. How am I feeling disempowered right now? And how am I reacting to that disempowerment? This in Aries helping you continue to get clear on what is important will help you find your empowerment again. On May 6th, we also have the planet Mercury making a conjunction with Chiron, both at 24 degrees of Aries. The Chiron work, it always brings up things that hurt. And along with this Pluto work, Pluto just stationed retrograde, we're looking at reevaluating our beliefs. We're looking at getting clear about what our values are. And Mercury conjunct Chiron is going to help us to talk a little bit about what's really happening. Whether we're talking with somebody else or we're just talking with ourselves, when we're coming into self-awareness, one of the big things is having this inner dialogue with yourself. Hey, what's happening? What's going on? How is this impacting me? What do I need more of? What do I need less of? And becoming our own closest friend, our biggest ally. When we become the witness, we can also become the supportive friend. We can tap into the higher level wisdom that comes through, and we can use all of that to feel more supported, feel less in pain. And so we'll skip forward to May 9th. We see that Mercury is in the sign of Aries at 29 degrees. It's about to switch signs. It's about to go into Taurus. And by May 10th, Mercury enters Taurus. We're also edging up, this won't be this week, but we are edging up to the sun meeting with Uranus. And now Mercury is in Taurus. And so we're bringing this back to this Taurus energy of groundedness, of being solid. And remember that coming back to the body, coming back to the land, outdoors, being in the sun, allowing the wind to blow around you, feeling your feet on the ground, this is the natural remedy to a life where we're so embroiled in the mind and we're so connected to the rest of humanity, is that the balancing act really does require a consistent practice of coming back to the body and of being outside and allowing the natural world to come back in and recalibrate everything that the mind and all the incoming information and the emotions throw off. So we're all doing the best we can. And right now it's tricky. There's a lot that we're trying to integrate. We're looking at all these planets changing signs this year. We're coming up on a Scorpio full moon. So there's a lot in the field. And the remedy is almost always going outside, immersing yourself in nature, which is also, by the way, the higher energy. Nature is so spiritual. You don't even have to be in nature. You can just be outside, feeling the sun and the wind, smelling the air. Helps you to come back to equilibrium. All right, I hope this was helpful, and I will see you all soon.